By testing, you might understand like running your app on your device or in emulator and testing whether it's working or not according to your expectations. Well, that's called the manual testing, and that's also necessary. But to make the app stable and to make sure like whenever you run the application, it's working properly, there are no problems, for that you need to run testing inside the app before building the APK. So the testing I'm talking about, this can be done before you build the APK. If you're running custom integration or it's a best practice, like before building an APK and do the manual testing, it's better like if you do these testings before building an APK. So the first type is unit test. Unit tests are like the small chunks of testing where you just write in a single method, you can test various conditions. So for example, if you have written a validator method for email, so instead of like opening the app and just typing it in and then pressing the button and check if it gives an error or not, it's just a plain wastage of time. It's better if you write a function and test various conditions and see whether it returns true or not. We're going to see this when we'll go to the IDE. So unit test tests like small chunks or small functions to make sure the logic is working properly. Then we have widget tests. So the widget test tests the whole widget where you make sure like the UI is responding as per your requirements or what you expect. So instead of like running app, you just test in the beginning. Like if the conditions are returned true, then it's fine. Otherwise, you fix the tests first. So this is used to test the widgets. In other programming languages, you may call it component test, or you can also call it component test. But I'm going to use the word widget test throughout this whole course for this one. Then you have integration testing. Okay, so to run the unit test and widget test, you can run it in the IDE. But to run integration tests, you need actual devices. So with that, you can test the whole app or some parts of application and just make sure like it's working properly. Start working on an example. The first thing I want is to improve the algorithms to check that email address. So in this condition, if somebody type like a.b at, this condition will consider it a valid email address. And I don't want that. Or if somebody types dot at, this will be considered as a valid email address. So to make sure like we're checking it properly, the first thing I want, or let's do this thing. I'm gonna make this, I'm gonna run this in the environment of, I'll leave it. I'm not gonna run trust-driven development for now. So I'm just going to create a new package and that's called utils. And then I create a class called text validator. So I'm gonna use extension function. With extension functions, you can just add that function into that relevant object on which you're applying. So I'm gonna say text validator on string because I want to check this on string. So I'm gonna write this function bool is email valid, and I'm gonna check regular expression. I've already stored it for email. So and has match. So the input can be, because we're taking string, so when I'll write this, it's going to point on the string on which we're applying. So now I want to test it, and one thing I've forgotten, like I was just following the format of naming conventions of Java. So let's call it text validators underscore, no capital letters. And then I'm gonna create a new test class and call it text validator. So I'm gonna call a main method here, and the first thing I need is to import the Flutter package here for testing. So I'm gonna import Flutter test, and also because I need to get the data from the text validators, so I'm gonna import get jobs app. Then I've got utils and our text validators, and because I need to run multiple tests, so I'm gonna use a group here and test multiple email values, and in the body let's make it empty and run test. So the description is that a single name should or is not an email. Okay, and again I'm gonna add the body of that, and at first I'm gonna just write that test here. So dynamic actual, I can add any method, so I'm gonna just write test. It's not a single, so I'm gonna call it as valid email. As you can see that this is not a valid email, so this should return false. So I'm gonna try to run it, and it should return true here. As you can see, it's passed because it's actually returning false. If I change it to true, because it's not a valid email, so I should expect false here, then it's gonna fail the test. So it's debugging, but end of the day, it's saying like we were expecting true, but actually it returned false. So since we were expecting true here, actually it returned false. So that's the wrong test. It means you need to check the method and make some changes. So yeah, and based on that, I'm gonna just copy that text now, and I'm gonna paste it 4 times. So let's do this test add. This is also not a valid email address. This is also not a valid email address. Domain address is an email. So here I'm gonna write test@test.com. Now this should return true. I'm gonna run this whole group now, and you can see that all tests are passed. Means the method we have written here is a proper one. We can verify like it's gonna return correct email addresses. Or let me add another test here with domain name and country is an email. So I'm gonna type it, change it to .co.uk, let's say. This should also return true. And it's passing. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just simply, first of all, import that util. So import utils and text validators is email valid. So if it's gonna return false, we're going to get an error. So because I've tested that, I'm not going to spend more time to run the app and check all these 4 cases than pressing sign up button. We've tested it here, it's fine. So now that's just a small example of unit test. Now I want to test the widget. As you can see, I go to widget test, and it's already been written here, as you can see. And but I need to remove it because like when Flutter creates an application, it creates a test and there's just like a simple counter app, and I don't want that. So I want to replace it. I want to replace the whole thing with my widget. So for example, I want to test my widget, right? So I'm gonna change it, test my home page widget. And first of all, what we need to do, we need to run our application here. So, but I don't want to run my whole application. What I just want is a simple my home page. So because that's an async method, I'm going to discuss in details what's async. For now, just keep in mind like the async method runs in a separate thread and it can block the UI. So if you don't want an exception to throw for it with async, if there's some thread that's going to take some time, so you just write the method await. So I'm going to use this widget tester, and I'm going to use pump widget, and that pump widget just simply adds the widget or runs that specific widget into the application. So here I want to run my home page. So I'm gonna pump it, and let's try to run it. And you can see it's returning error. The following assertion was thrown building my home page, media query off, called when with a context that does not contain media query. So initially, like if I run my app that runs my home page, it works fine because it contains a media query because it's built inside the material app. Or if I call it inside the material app, this is going to work fine because it's also saying that this can happen because you don't have a widgets app or material app widget, right? So if I run my app here, it's going to wrap it inside a material app, as you can see here. And sorry, I didn't remove that. Yeah, so it's going to wrap it inside the material app, and material app contains media query on everything. But see, like if I create multiple widgets and if I run my app, now it's pumping that home widget. But let's say if I'm running a separate application, I don't want to pump that widget inside that. So instead, I'm going to create my own instance of material application. I'm going to create a new method that returns a widget, and I'm going to name it or make widget testable, right? And then obviously it's going to take a widget, which is going to be my home page, and I don't like it that much. And let's import material here because we're using material. So let's return a media query, and media query requires a data, and for now I'm gonna just make it blank because I'm not gonna add a separate configuration, and the child will be material app. So now we're just going to call this method simply and wrap our widget inside that. So the home will be that widget that we're taking. So now I'm going to wrap this inside that, and it should work fine for now. Oops, I missed. something, I believe. Yep. So I'm gonna run this again. So now it's passing, but this is not something I need. I want to check my whole screen. So the first thing I want to check, like when my screen starts, okay, so by default it's a login screen. So the first condition I want to check is that login button, it's visible, and the sign up button is invisible when the screen starts. And also the confirm password field is not visible there. Okay, so let's run this. Expect. So first of all, I'm gonna find that text that contains login, and I'm gonna check that it is visible. So first I'm gonna use this finds one widget. This will return true if login text exists on the screen. If it doesn't, then it returns false. And I'm gonna duplicate this line by pressing Command D. And I don't want sign up button to be visible there, so I'm gonna use find nothing. So sign up will be blank. And also so I'm gonna find text, because like it's a text input field. I'm gonna use widget, and widget is text input. I'm gonna just split this vertically to make sure that both screens are visible here. So sorry, it's not text input field, it's text form field. And let's say, okay, so because like the text form field doesn't have, like this text form field doesn't have any text, it has a label. So I'm just gonna try to find text form field, but this will return the error that it's better like if we define separate keys for that. And I'm gonna define a key here that is a value key, and I'm gonna name it key email, let's say, and I'm gonna copy this. And here I'm gonna remove this visibility modifier. The reason why is because like it holds an object in the widget tree, as you saw in the last video. So I'm gonna just remove that visibility modifier, so like we reduce one widget from the widget tree and make it visible only if it's needed. So remove this. I'm gonna assign, sorry, this needs to change. Oh, this needs to be confirm password, and this needs to be only password. So yeah, and here I just add a condition that if the same thing, that authentication type dot sign up, then show this text form field, otherwise do not. You can run it and check it, it's gonna work fine. I'm not gonna spend too much time here, so you can verify it on your end. So, and you can see like I'm gonna copy them, and I'm gonna find this widget by key now, and let's do this, and this returns nothing. So run it, and you can see that it's passing. We didn't find a sign up button, we didn't find a login button on the confirm password on the screen, but there was one login button, so that returns true, and it's working fine. Now I want to press that login button again, and when I press, sorry, I don't want to press the login button, I want to press this button that says create an account, right? So I want to press this button, and that will change the view. But first, because I'm going to use these values so many times, I don't want to hard code it every time. So I'm thinking like it's better if I create a constant files here, or if I define these constants on top of that screen. That's going to make my life a bit easier. So for now, I'm going to make it a constant. I'm going to just define a constant dart file. And I'm going to call it class constants. And here, I'm going to define static fields. So login button text that says login, and it's giving error because we didn't define the type. So instead of like hard coding the login text here, I'm gonna use the constants class login button text here, and I'm gonna just take it and use it here as well, so I don't need to define it over and over again. Import that. Okay, so I'm gonna stop this video here, and I'm gonna just create these constants, and I'm gonna just come back. Until then, you can create these constants into a separate file so that you can use into that test file as well as here, so we don't need to hard code it every time. And because I'm gonna use it over and over again, because I'm gonna just press the button and then verify that login button doesn't exist and sign up button exists. So yeah, I mean, I don't want to hard code it every time. So I'm gonna come back. Created various constant fields here, and I've just applied them here instead of like overwriting the whole hard coded text again. So I'm gonna use them here. And also, I just want to make sure that by default, so let's write the comment default view, and also I want to check that because it's login, so create account button should exist. So let's run it again. It's all true. So let me write now. I want to press the create account button. I've verified that it exists. So I want to press that create account button. And then I want to verify that these like buttons views changes. So I'm gonna tester.tap. That's gonna tap the button. And which button do I need to tap? I need to find it first. So it's the same one, create account text. Let me just copy it and paste it here. And then await tester.pump. What it's going to do, like here, you can define different durations. So I'm going to just pump it, and this is going to get executed. So because I'm not defining any duration, so it's going to get executed immediately. And now the view has changed because it has clicked that button of create an account. So now my expectations are different. So now this one is sign up view. So create an account. This doesn't exist now. So I'm gonna just change it, find nothing. And the login text, the login button, the same case, I find nothing because it doesn't exist anymore because user has pressed create account and the sign up button is there. And here it should find one widget for that, and so as for confirm password. And also I want to see that sign up text button like this one already have an account. This should be visible. So I'm gonna add one more condition. Find one's widget. Yes, that's true, but here I want it to be hidden. So I'm gonna just add it here. So let's run this. You can see it's throwing an error. It's saying 0 widgets with text sign up. Here it's finding nothing, and here it's saying 0 button with text sign up. So because I haven't implemented it here, so I just want to make sure that sign up button text is here. And what about the login? Yeah, so yes, let's try running it again. Now it's passing. There might be like some issues with the string values, so I just added the variable here. And now what I want to do is I want to enter some text, and I want to check whether errors are there or not. So let's enter some text, and because we're gonna perform an operation, so I'm gonna use that await, and I'm gonna use that tester widget, and I'm gonna enter some text. So let's enter it here, but where we want to enter the text, we need to find it first. So the same thing, find by key, yes, and the value key here. Value key is constants, and that is key email. I want to type an email here. Let me just close it for now. And because I want to return an error, so I'm just going to type in test, and I'm going to duplicate these lines. Since I've added a condition that password has minimum 4 keys, so I'm going to just type 2 keys AB. And here, I don't want to return that passwords do not match error. I want to return the error that says that passwords do not match. So I'm gonna just use it and say test1 to make sure that it's throwing an error. And what I need to do now, like if you're running a real app here, you will press that sign up button. So I'm gonna just repeat that, code again, that same one where I'm pressing a button. So tap, exactly, find text, and that is a sign up button text. And then I want to tap it and pump it. So pump's gonna perform the operation. And now I would expect some errors here. So for that, I want to check whether these text exist on the screen or not. So same thing here, just change it with the email does not exist. And it should find one thing here. So I'm gonna say that error email and find one widget, yeah, and error password matching. So because we typed in the wrong format, so let's gonna run it. Oh, I'm getting an error that says no element, and where it is throwing this error. Widget tester, I'll change my homepage widget. So yeah, that's it here. It's saying enter text, so there is an error when I'm trying to enter the text, and I couldn't find it in the widget test class. So I'm gonna wrap it. Yes, it's saying, oh, yes, because that was not a text field. So yeah, let's run it again. And now it's working fine. It's making sure like these error exist. Now I want to remove these errors. So I'm gonna just copy that again, but this time I'm gonna type the correct email addresses. So test@test.com and ab at, sorry, it should be the same one. So these passwords matches now. And again, I'm gonna pump it, but this time I want to find nothing here. And let's run it again. So you can see that these tests are working fine. I'm just gonna create some like comments, so or you may skip them. I've created the constant file. You can find it into my GitHub profile. I will attach the link in the description. So if you have any questions, please ask me. The article on the same video. I'll attach the link in description, and if you like the video, I would suggest you to read this article as well, as it will be great for keeping notes. And if you like it, to support me, please press this clap button. I want you to just crash this, press it as many times as you can, or at least just 50 times, so to support me. And if you face any problem, do comment. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. You can find the code in the description below. Follow me on Medium. I'll upload an article related to that video. So if you don't understand or you need to copy the code, you can go there as well. And it's going to be really simple. Have a good day. Thank you.